Hi there, it's Mr. McTavish here, and I'm just highlighting some code in terms of dealing with images and things like that. So I've got a basic program. I'm just going to run it quickly here. So when I run it, what's going to happen is it's going to create a window. And in the window, there's going to be a button and a picture. And I am going to be able to click the button, and when I click the button, it's going to change the picture. So we'll just give it a few more moments. It takes a little bit longer than the text program. So here's the window, and it's just like a regular window. I can move it around, and there's the button, and there's the picture. And when I click the button, the picture changes. And each time I click it, it will change. Now, I've only put 2 pictures in, but I want to explain this code so that you understand what's going on. So here's the main Java code. Excuse me. In the main Java code, you have some libraries. So these are new libraries that we haven't dealt with in class yet, but basically these are the libraries that allow us to create graphics and things. And I'm going to be sharing the sample code so you can play around with it. But you've got your main method just like normal, and I've tried to add lots of comments in here to explain the main method. So the first thing is that I've created a variable. So this variable, you'll notice it's not inside the main class. Or it's in the main class, but not in the main method. And it's a myCanvas variable, and if you look over in the files, I have created a new file called mycanvas.java. So you can just add a new file just like this, and you can call it what you want, car.java, whatever, and when you create a code like that, you can then do what I'm doing. So here's my canvas. So let's have a look at it. So it imports some libraries, and here's the class, just so it's very similar to how the main method is, or the main class is declared. But you'll notice it extends Canvas. So Canvas, if you just do a Google search, you can find Canvas. So Java, Canvas, and if you use Java Canvas Swing, it will make it a bit easier. And there's the Docs Oracle. So these are the libraries. So here's the canvas, and it represents a blank rectangular area of the screen onto which the application can draw, or from which the application can trap input events from the user. So that allows me to create graphics, and there's a lot of stuff, but I can go through all the documentation and see how to modify things. So I've added a canvas, and again, I've got some variables, and these variables are in the canvas code, but they're not in the method code. And you'll notice that's why I use the word static. So these are static, these are accessible for different methods, and that's why I declare them here so that I can access them from different methods. So here's the paint method. So Canvas has a paint method, and I'm just kind of overriding it and adding some stuff. So I'm adding the default toolkit, and the toolkit just allows my program to interact with the operating system, in this case it's Windows, to be able to know how to draw on the screen and stuff like that. And here's my image variable, and I'm just calling it the letter I, and I'm going to use my toolkit and get an image based on the image name. And you'll notice up in line 9, I gave the image name ram.jpg. So here's the RAM file in my Windows, and I uploaded it to REPL. You've got a couple of ways you can upload files. You can drag and drop them. So this is where I'm going to draw the image. So the G represents my graphics. So that's the graphics that the canvas can access. Draws the image, and it takes a bunch of variables, one being what's the image. In this case, it's I. That's the variable I named it. What is the X and Y position for the top left corner? So I've set it to be 0 and 100. And then what am I drawing it on? And this refers to whatever class I'm in, which in this case is my canvas. So that's the end of that method. Now, this will always draw the RAM file initially. So I've added a separate method to call update graphics. And the reason I update this is The paint method will run anytime the screen is drawn. So when the program loads, it actually gets drawn a couple of times. And if I move the window, it will draw it and stuff. So I want to be able to control when my picture changes. So that's why I have an update graphics menu. And in here, I just simply have an if statement. So that counter that I declared before, I set it to 0 initially. So if it's, or set it to 1. So if it's 0, it's going to display the RAM and it's going to increase. Otherwise, it's going to display the jacket. So I could add else if statements in here so that I could go, okay, else if counter is equal to 1, else if counter is equal to 2, and that can force it to draw different pictures. I would obviously need to add them. So that's the program. There's my if statement, there's my else statement, and when I get to the end, I've only got 2 pictures, so it's going to increase it to 1, and then the next time it's going to reset it back to 0. So I can add more pictures, and I would need to add code here. This dot repaint, so this is going to redraw the screen, and that's how that's going to happen. So going back to the main method, so that's where I declared the canvas, so that's going to run. I'm also going to add a button. So a J button, again, I can Google that and I can find J button. This creates a button, and the text is going to be whatever shows text is on the button. This is where I'm going to set where is the button. So it's going to start, this is my X and Y. So it's going to be at 0, 0, and then my width is going to be 250 pixels wide, and my height is going to be 40 pixels tall. I'm also going to add a frame. So the frame is kind of like your Windows frame. Now, this is where I get a lot of power. So my button is called B, and I'm going to add an action listener. So this is going to, this code will run right there when somebody clicks the button. So this is my action listener. So this is the code that's going to run. And I've just got system out print line just to troubleshoot. This was some more troubleshooting that I don't need anymore. And then here, M is my canvas from up above. And I'm going to update the graphics, which is the method I created. So this will force, it will change what image I'm going to draw on my screen. After this code, so now I've got to add these things to the frame. So that adds the button, that adds the canvas. This sets the size of the frame, and this sets it to visible because it defaults to invisible. So if I run this, you'll see it's loading up, and then there's, if I just resize this, it'll make it a little bit easier to see. So there we go. So there's the button that I created. Next item, that was the text. There's the canvas with the image. And when I press the button, that's what runs. So that's a little tutorial on how to use this, and I will be sharing this code in class.